Okay, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back from lunch. Nice to see you guys. Welcome to everyone online. We're going to start our afternoon session with some meditation like we typically do. I'm going to start with breathing mindfulness meditation and just do breathing mindfulness. We have been doing breathing mindfulness in loving kindness, but we'll just do our breathing mindfulness this afternoon. So I'm going to start with the chanting, then I'll guide you in some meditation, and then it'll be a period of time where we'll just be meditating, and then we'll come out with some more chanting as well. So if you'd like to join, make yourself comfortable. You're welcome to join into the chanting if you like. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Mahakewa Bhutang Mahakewanhang Apivateyami Savakato Mahakewata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipano Mahakewato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami Namarhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namarhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Namarhasa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Iti pisu Mahakewa Arahang Samma Sambuddho Vicacaranang Sammuno Sakato Rokavito Anutero Purisa Dhammasati Satatawa Manusanam Bhutto Bhagavati. Okay, with the lower body and hands and arms comfortable, and the upper body erect, just close the eyes and start breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Here you're just looking to establish the breath. A nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. Not forced or controlled. Just a gradual inhale through the nose, experiencing the full breath. And then when you're ready, exhale out through the nose. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. Your breath may not match up with the guidance that I'm providing, and that's okay. This is your practice. I'm just here for guidance. You can use this voice as a reminder that whenever you get to the next inhale, breathe in gradually through the nose, developing a nice, natural, steady, consistent breath. And then, whenever you're ready, exhale out through the nose, experiencing the full breath. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the breath well established, start fixating the mind on the breath. Either the sound of the breath coming into the nose or the sensation of air moving over the skin into the nose. The breath is the present moment. Fixate the mind on the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. With the mind fixated on the breath, whenever you notice that it's moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. No need to observe the thought, label it, judge it, analyze it, or even try to figure out where it's coming from. Whenever you notice that the mind is moved off the breath, cut that off, let it go, and come back to the breath, the present moment. Breathing in and out. Breathing in and out. I'm going to be quiet now and let you do this work of focusing on the breath, cutting off and letting go anytime the mind moves off the breath. You have nowhere to go. There's nothing to do. No one needs you right now. This is your time to focus on the breath. Breathing in and out. อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวาพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทมิสวากขาโตมหาเกวตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนามามินับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนับโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะอิติปิโสภะคะวะอะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธวิชาจารณังสัมมุโนสกขาโตโรกาวิตุอนุเตโรปุริสาดัมมาสติสัตตาตาวาปมานุสนังโอโตภะคะวะติ Okay, if you guys would like to slowly make your way out of meditation. Now that you guys have been meditating for a little bit, a few days here in this course, do you guys have any questions on meditation? Anything that you would like help with? Anything that you'd like to discuss related to either breathing mindfulness meditation or loving kindness meditation? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep finding myself like part of my mind focusing on my breath, but then the other parts of my mind focusing on other things. Like, does that happen for you also, or like when you first started doing this?
When I first started doing meditation, it was like hitting a brick wall. Like I had a lot of difficulties with meditation because my mind was so polluted. So you can experience all different kinds of things on your way as you're training your mind. But when you say that your mind's half focused on the breath and half focused on other things, do you mean like you just have awareness, like there's a car that went by, or you have awareness of a fan or something like that?
Yeah, it'd be like I'd be focused on my breath, but then, a sound or like, a flicker of light or something.
Yep. Yeah, that's normal. So you'll experience that even when your mind's enlightened, that you'll be focused on the breath and you'll hear the car. You'll know that it's there, but you'll just bring your mind right back to the breath. So that's just general awareness. Remember, your goal isn't to eliminate your thoughts. Your goal isn't even to stay on the breath the entire time during meditation. This is impossible. What you're doing is notice when your mind has moved off and then be able to let go of whatever that is and bring the mind back. So if 20, 30, 50 times during your meditation, you're having to let go, let go, let go, let go, that's what you're looking for, because your mind doesn't want to let go. That's what that craving, desire, attachment is, that craving for permanence, where it wants things to be permanent. It doesn't have the ability to let go easily. That's why it keeps getting angry and frustrated and irritated. So you're training your mind to be able to let go. So that now in daily life, when you're walking down the street and you're starting to notice some kind of frustration arising or any other unwholesome quality, you notice that, and then you can cut it off and let it go. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to let the mind be frustrated. Nope. We're just going to maintain our joy and keep on walking. And if you do this enough times, eventually you won't have any frustration arise, because you've eliminated the causes and conditions that are causing the frustration to arise. So say you're walking down the street and you hear a jackhammer, like, this is, if the mind starts getting frustrated, that's because the mind's craving a certain sound. It wants there to be quietness, but it can't have quietness permanently. It's going to hear other sounds. So now when it hears that jackhammer, the mind craving permanence, wanting quietness, now this frustration starts to arise. But where you notice that frustration starting to come with your mindfulness, that's where you cut off and let go. And you'd like to spot it as a bodily sensation if you can, but that takes time to build that up. And then eventually you get to the point where you just understand, yeah, this is impermanent. Just like the quietness is impermanent, that jackhammer is impermanent too. So let me just keep on walking, and I'll get further and further away from it, and no reason to get upset or frustrated. It's just impermanence. That's all it is. So the mind needs to be trained to let go, let go, let go. Don't crave that permanence, but that's what the mind wants to do in the unenlightened state. The interesting thing about this whole process is that the mind craves permanence, and it wants that so badly, and you need to train it to be comfortable with impermanence. And as soon as you do, then you finally get what the mind wanted all along, which is the permanence. It gets the permanent peace, the permanent calm, serenity, and contentedness with joy. But you first have to train it to be comfortable with the impermanence in order to get the ultimate thing that it was really truly interested in to begin with, which is the permanent peace and the permanent joy. As long as it's craving permanent silence, permanent smells or odors or whatever it is, so many different cravings that are in the mind, as long as it wants those things, it can't get to the permanent joy, because it keeps experiencing all this impermanence that it doesn't like because of its cravings. So letting go, letting go, letting go, that's what you're interested in training it to do. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, do anybody online, you guys have questions? You can put that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom if you have questions about meditation. If you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to move into talking about this afternoon's topic, but I'd like to just give you guys a chance to ask any and all questions that you might have. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions anywhere. So this afternoon's topic is developing and maintaining relationships, choosing wholesome friends, and a life partner. When you read the teachings of the Buddha, he talks about cultivating wholesome friends as a real priority in your journey to enlightenment. You're always working on your own mind. That's what the path to enlightenment is to develop wisdom, to train your mind to uproot certain pollutions. It's not about a bunch of beliefs. That's not what the teachings of the Buddha are. It's about transforming your mind and training your mind to get to the peace and to the joy. You can't create a little bubble around yourself and then create peace that way. Sometimes people think, I'm going to insulate myself with all these wholesome friends and people that are doing things my way, and then that is what's going to bring you peace. But you can't be in that bubble all the time. It's not possible. So you're going to experience being outside that bubble. So that's not what this is talking about. The Buddha did teach to cultivate wholesome friends, but the reason why is because if you're around unwholesome influences, your mind's going to tend to move in that direction. If you've ever had friends that are into certain things, certain difficulties, your mind might have leaned in that direction too. Like maybe if you had people stealing or into sexual misconduct, or if they were lying, or if they're using profanity, if they're using substances that cause heedlessness, things like this, then your mind tended to lean in that direction too. So what this path to enlightenment is you becoming a better and better human being, purifying your mind of these pollutions and making wise decisions that are going to produce wholesome results for yourself. So as long as you're making making unwise decisions. With your lack of wisdom, it's going to produce unwholesome results. So if you choose to be around a bunch of unwholesome things and unwholesome people that are into unwholesome things, then your mind's going to tend to lean in that direction too. So you need to be able to have wisdom to transform your own mind, but then you also need to have the wisdom to cultivate friends that are into wholesome things. But you need to be able to do that without judgment. It's really unwise to judge other people, putting yourself above them or putting yourself below them. So what I'm going to teach you is how to make wise decisions about a wholesome friends and or a life partner, but doing so without judgment. Having friends that are into wholesome things is very wise, and also having a life partner, because while every decision you make is producing certain results for you, this is what we call karma, the results of your decisions. Some people call it karma. It's not punishment or rewards. It's not mystical or magical. It's not about any being controlling this karma. Karma is the Sanskrit language, where the original language of the Buddha is in the Pali language, so I use the word karma. If it translated to just one English word, I would use that word, but it doesn't translate to just one English word, so I still need to use the word karma. So this cause and effect, or action and result, it's affecting you all the time, whether you realize it or not. It's a natural law. The more you awaken to the wisdom of this natural law, realizing that it's not punishments and rewards, it's not about who's to blame or who's at fault or anything like that. It's not anything mystical or magical. It's literally the results of your decisions. Whenever you make a decision, either wise or unwise, it's going to produce a wholesome result or an unwholesome result. So while everything that you experience is a result of your decisions, when you choose certain friends or you choose a life partner, it's going to affect you because their decisions are now going to impact you. So say, for example, I had a friend from when I was a childhood, and let's just say we've been friends ever since I was 8 years old, and we've just been little buddies, and we grew up together and everything. And then as we aged, we did different things, but we're still friends. And I always knew, perhaps by the time he was 15, 16, 18, he started selling drugs, and maybe he's selling cocaine or heroin and things like this, but we still just became friends. I wasn't into that kind of stuff, but hey, we've been buddies since 8 years old, so I'm just continuing to be friends with this person. Well, as we age and we get older and older, we're into our 20s, our late 20s, or early 30s. Just say I've always known that this person sold drugs, and now I hung out with this person and making a decision to do this. Well, this decision to be this person's friend is going to affect me, because now, say we're in the car and we're driving down the street and we get pulled over by the police. And let's just say my friend has some cocaine in their jacket pocket, and the police are pulling us over, and maybe they slip it under my chair of the car, and I'm driving. Well, if the police search the car, who's going to jail? It's me, right? So it's not that I'm choosing to use cocaine or I'm choosing to sell drugs, but because I've always known this and I continue to reside in this relationship and go out, even though my friend never offers to sell me the drugs, even though I never use the drugs, we're just friends, this decision to be friends with this person can affect me. Or say we're walking down the street together and a rival drug dealer sees him, and now they start shooting and trying to kill this person. And as you know, bullets don't have names on them. Maybe they find me, right? Maybe they think that I'm a drug dealer too, because I'm hanging out with my friend who's a drug dealer. Maybe they try to kill me as well. So the choices that you make about your friends, they're going to impact you. So the Buddha's wisdom that he's giving you about how to conduct your life and seeing this cause and effect, or this action and result, it's helpful for your life, but it's also helpful in the terms of the types of people that you decide to be friends with, but also your life partner too. Not everybody's going to have a life partner, but if you choose to have a life partner, it's very wise to select a life partner that's going to be into wholesome things. Because if you had a company and you were starting a brand new company, like a business, the person that you select to be a CEO or a COO is going to affect your company significantly. Your company is either going to thrive or it's going to die based on who you select to run this company. So it's the same thing when you're selecting a life partner, that whoever you choose as a life partner, it's going to affect your life in significant ways. And you would like to select wisely of who you would like to be your life partner. Because if you select someone who's into unwholesome things, Let's just say they're stealing. Let's say they're having sexual misconduct. Let's say they're lying. Maybe they're into substances that cause heedlessness. All of this is going to affect you both financially. It's going to affect you personally. It's going to affect you in multiple different ways. So who you choose to select as your life partner is going to impact you. But also, if you select a life partner who's into wholesome things, that's going to affect you too, because it's going to help you in that person to increase your life and what it is that you're doing in life. So the guidance that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to walk you through some things that are going to help you to make wiser decisions about who you involve in your life, because every single thing that you experience in life is a result of your decisions. This is the gamma. And one of the things that's empowering about understanding this is that if there's anything that you don't particularly care for in your life, all you need to do is cultivate wisdom and make different decisions. Whereas if the things that you're experiencing in life are good luck and bad luck, or if it's destiny or if it's fate, then you have no control to change anything in your life, because it's your destiny, it's your fate. You're locked in. Or if it's good luck or bad luck, you have no control over that. So that means that you're just subjected to whatever you experience. But that's not actually true reality. There's no such thing as good luck or bad luck or destiny or fate. Everything that you experience is a result of your decisions. Look at the hairstyle that you have. Look at the clothes that you're wearing. Look at that you're choosing to sit here at the temple, or you choose to join online, or look at the number of cushions that you have. These are all choices that you're making. Look at what you ate for lunch. Look at the people that you surround yourself with. Look at the job or occupation you have. Look at how much money you have in your bank account. All these things are results of your decisions. These are your karma. So when you have wisdom, you're going to make wiser and wiser decisions that lead to wholesome results. And when you can understand that everything you experience is the results of your decisions, then, as I mentioned, if there's anything that you don't particularly care for in your life, you cultivate wisdom and make different decisions. So that's actually the first thing to share in terms of selecting friends and a life partner, is you need to acquire wisdom. Now, for those of you guys that have been in the course for a few days, you can see that a lot of these topics that I'm discussing, the very first thing is acquire wisdom, right? And I'm repeating that over and over and over again, because that's what you need to do in this life, is cultivate wisdom. Without wisdom of the natural laws of existence and developing this life practice, you would be kind of like in the dark, walking through the woods without a light. The Buddha is giving you the light. He's showing you the pathway of how to produce this better condition of your mind and a better life as well. But if you go out into the woods without a flashlight, that would be very unwise. There's not many of us that would choose to do that. We would choose to go out into the dark woods with a light. And the teachings of the Buddha are that light that's showing you the way. He's not giving you any rules or commandments. He's teaching you what it took for him to get to that enlightened mental state, so that then you can choose for yourself to see the wisdom in that. And then if you would like to produce that same mental state where the mind's peaceful and joyful permanently, then he'll explain to you how to do that. So it's the wisdom that you cultivate through the teachings, through learning his teachings, through independently verifying that they're true, and then through practicing them, you transform your mind, uproot the pollutions out of your mind, and you'll see the peace and the joy coming into the mind more and more readily. One of the number one things that you need to cultivate wisdom about is the natural law of karma, the cause and effect, or the action and results. I refer to the teachings of the Buddha as the natural laws of existence, and these natural laws are affecting you whether you're aware of it or not. Just like the natural law of gravity, the natural law of gravity affected all of us when we were growing up, whether we were aware of it or not. And we really struggled and had difficulties with this natural law. We fell down, we hit our head, we broke our toys, we had all kinds of difficulties because we lacked wisdom. So we naturally made unwise decisions that led to unwholesome results. And we were impacted by this natural law of gravity, whether we were aware that it existed or not. At 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, we had no clue what the natural law of gravity was, but it was still affecting us. So as you aged, you gradually investigated this and learned this, and you awoke into the wisdom of the natural law of gravity. Then you started making wiser decisions. You started tying your shoes tighter. You started looking at the surface of the sidewalk as you walked. You started making all kinds of different decisions that helped you to then experience improved results and wholesome results. So the same thing needs to occur with the natural law of karma. The mind's going to struggle and have difficulties, just like you did with the natural law of gravity growing up, when you lack wisdom. But when you got to 10, 12, 14 years old, you fully awoke to natural law of gravity. Now you can climb ladders, you can ride bicycles, you can ride motorbikes, you can get on airplanes, travel all over the world, because you understand the natural law of gravity. But when you lacked wisdom, you struggled with that natural law. So that anger and sadness and frustration and all those other discontent feelings that you experience in life when you're struggling, that's because you lack wisdom. So it's this natural law of gamma that you're awakening to that's helping you to understand the wise decision making. And one of the wise decision making that you need is how to choose wholesome friends and a life partner. So it's your life, your decisions, and your results. What you choose to do in life matters, and who you choose to involve in your life matters. The Buddha has a teaching where he describes this simile of the snake has passed through feces. He uses this great analogy where he's essentially describing like a snake that is like your friend, and it may not bite you, but because this snake has passed through feces, meaning poop or defecation, right? It's moved through this feces, that the snake might not bite you, but it can smear you. And that's what happens when you have unwholesome friends in your life, or you've selected an unwholesome life partner, that it may not bite you, but it's going to smear you, right? And it's no fun to be smeared with feces, right? So that's the example that I gave you, where like if I have a friend that I'm holding on to this relationship and they're selling illicit substances, and then they slip the cocaine under my chair of my car and I get arrested and I go to jail, the snake hasn't bit me, but it sure did smear me, and it smeared me pretty heavily, because you can get some significant time for having that under your chair, right? The police probably go to jail for 5-10 years on that, right? And spend a lot of money at a lawyer in order to defend myself for these kinds of things at the very least. So the Buddha has this great analogy that the snake may not bite you, but it'll smear you with feces. And this is what you need to be aware of as you select certain friends or life partner to be in your life. Even business partners or co-workers or things like this, you need to be very wise about who you choose to involve in your life. One of the things that you should use as a basis of wisdom to help you select who to involve in your life is what we describe in Buddhist teachings as the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts are something that you study in the original words of the Buddha. They're not black and white. They're not rules or commandments, but oftentimes you hear people teach them that way because they're not studying with the original words of the Buddha. If you've ever heard that the Buddha taught no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no lying, no intoxicants, he actually didn't teach that. That's like, sounds like rules and commandments. It sounds like black and white. He didn't actually say that. He didn't say and teach in that way. But in all the various courses and retreats that I teach where we study the foundational teachings, and in the books and audiobooks and videos, I share the original words of the Buddha on the 5 precepts. He uses much more illuminating language, and you can see that there's kind of like this gray area that you need to learn to navigate. So you're going to need to learn the 5 precepts in order to be able to make wise decisions about your partner in terms of a life partner or business partners or friends or people like this to associate with, because you know these as the 5 precepts, or you can learn them as the 5 precepts. But what they really are is they're helping you to understand this natural law of karma. The Buddha is teaching you that it would be unwise to kill. But of course, if your back is up against the wall, someone's broken into your house at 2 a.m. in the morning, they're not bringing you chocolate and flowers. So you might actually have to kill in this situation in order to defend yourself, right? So it's not black and white where the Buddha said no killing. But what he teaches you is to live compassionately for the welfare of all living beings. He teaches you about stealing and how it would harm others, and that this harm is going to come back to you. He teaches you about sexual misconduct in terms of like having sex with minors, going outside of your relationships, things like this. He gives you very illuminating detail on these kinds of things. And he teaches you about lying and how that's going to have you be undependable and untrustworthy to the people around you. And he teaches you about substances that cause heedlessness, how this clouds your mind and it makes it difficult for you to make wise decisions in the world. And he teaches you this because it's helpful for you to be able to get to this peaceful and joyful mental state, as well as a peaceful and joyful life. Well, knowing this about the natural law of karma, of what's wise for you, that it's going to produce wholesome results and beneficial results in your life to practice the 5 precepts. If you involve someone in your life that isn't practicing the 5 precepts, then they can easily smear you. So for example, say you have a bunch of friends that you're hanging out with, and let's just say a bunch of your friends are into sexual misconduct, for example, but you're not. You're very loyal in your relationship with your partner. Well, you go out with all these friends, and maybe they do things while you guys are out that are unwise, and they're cheating on their partners. And now maybe your partner finds out that they were doing some things that were unwise. And even though you didn't participate in those things, now you're going to have difficulties with your partner because of that. So it would be very wise for you to learn the 5 precepts for yourself, because it's going to help you understand the natural law of karma, but it's also going to help you to compare and contrast and kind of figure out what would be wise for you in terms of who to associate with in your life. Because if it's unwise for you to kill or steal or have sexual misconduct or lie and take intoxicants, which, like I mentioned, there's a huge gray area there. If it's unwise for you, well, if you associate with somebody who's into those kinds of things, now you can be affected by those things. So this is a way for you to look at what your friends are choosing to do and then make decisions about whether it would be wise for you to spend time with this particular individual. Now, while you'll understand them perhaps as the 5 precepts, other people might not understand them that way, right? Other people might not be studying the teachings of the Buddha. But because these are the natural laws of existence, these type of teachings and others show up in other parts of our life. Like when I was growing up, my grandmother and my grandfather and other people around me were teaching me that it was unwise to kill, to steal, to have sexual misconduct, to lie, and take intoxicants. These are things that we kind of learn growing up, where the Buddha gives you much more illuminating detail of why it's important for this in terms of the condition of your mind and getting to this peace and this joy. Other people communicate these kinds of things to us as we're growing up. So your friends or your life partner may not be learning the Buddhist teachings, but they may have learned these same types of wisdom in other ways and other places. So while they may not understand them as the 5 precepts, you'll have that wisdom, and you'll be able to, look at somebody and kind of the decisions that they're making and decide whether it would be wise or not for you to associate in these situations. And if you're choosing not to associate with somebody who's into any of these kinds of things, you should never do it in a judgmental way. Like if you choose to move on, let's just say you have a life partner or a friend who's into substances that cause heedlessness, and you choose to move on from that relationship, either as a friend or as a life partner, a business partner, or something like this. Well, you're not looking down on the person and thinking that they're a bad person and degrading them or diminishing them and doing this with your ego. Instead, you're just realizing that it would be unwise to associate in a relationship where somebody is using substances that cause heedlessness, because in those situations, they're going to be making a bunch of unwise decisions, and it's going to affect you. So rather than look down on them or degrade them or diminish them, you're just choosing wisely to choose to move on from the relationship so that it doesn't impact you. And what they choose to do in their life is what they choose to do in their life, but you need to maintain a certain amount of wise decision making in your life so that you can produce more and more improvement to your mind and to your life as well. So you can use the 5 precepts as like a base of knowledge or a foundation in which to decide whether or not it would be wise for a business partner or a friend or a colleague or any other person to involve in your life. Because if you had a business partner or if you had an employee who was constantly lying and you kept them in your company, this is going to affect you as a business owner, because they're constantly lying. If they're degrading and diminishing people, maybe they're using substances that cause heedlessness, this is going to affect you, because the decisions that they make as an employee in your company or as your business partner, it's going to affect them, but it's going to affect you too. So you can use these things as wisdom to help guide you in terms of who to involve in your life. Okay? So this is just to get us started. Some other things to think about is wholesome friends equals wise friends. You're looking for individuals who have wisdom about these natural laws and kind of living life. It's ideal if individuals would be learning and practicing these teachings, but it's not always possible. Not everybody's interested in learning and practicing the teachings of the Buddha, but you can still look for wisdom in an individual's mind. So for example, when I met my wife, one of the things that attracted to me initially to her is that she was in a situation where she could have very easily lied, and I would have never known the difference. And it actually would have been in her benefit to have lied in this situation. But she chose to tell the truth. And telling the truth was like so risky for her in this one particular situation. But when I noticed that she told the truth in this situation where she otherwise, most people probably would have lied, it made me very attractive to her, even more so than already, right? So you can notice where if you have wisdom and you understand these natural laws and you see other people making wise decisions, you're like, wow, I really admire that. I really like the fact that this person's telling the truth. And if you know that they're telling the truth, then you can trust them and know that they're dependable. And then from the time that I ever first met my wife, I don't know that she's ever lied to me about anything. I'd have to ask her. I've never seen her lie to me about anything. Our relationship started off with her telling the truth, and she's just always told me the truth. So I've never had any reason to doubt her or not trust her. And this has really helped our relationship to really blossom. So you can look at these kinds of things where you're looking for wholesome friends, look for wise friends that are making wise decisions. Having friends or a life partner that understands practicing non-clinging and non-attachment. We've talked a lot about attachment and clinging at different times in this course. And we talked about eliminating attachment to the people who are closest to us in our last talk this morning. Well, if you have a partner that's clinging to you and that's holding on, whether it's a friend or a life partner, you're going to have a really hard time in this relationship because they're going to want you to be a certain way. They're going to have expectations of you. They're going to try to control you. They're going to try to put their obligations and expectations on you. And you're going to feel very smothered, very controlled, and very pressured in this relationship. And if you do what they want you to do, you'll get pleasant feelings. They'll get pleasant feelings because you're doing what they want you to do. But if you don't do what they want you to do, if you don't meet their expectations, they're going to get angry and bitter and hostile and harsh. And even if you try to hurry up and meet their expectations, they'll be happy for a period of time, but then their expectations are going to change. And now you're going to have to hurry up and meet those expectations. So if you're in a relationship where people are clinging to you or they're attached to you, that means they're forming their inner feelings based on the things that you do. And this is very unwise. This is what you need to be able to learn in the very first teaching of the Buddha, the Four Noble Truths. So by having a partner that understands non-clinging and non-attachment, that means if they're with you, they're already happy, but if they're away from you, they can still be happy. If you have a partner who's like, oh, I miss you so much, please come back. Why have you left? Don't go on that business trip. Or people giving you ultimatums. Like if you go on that business trip, that means you don't care about me and you don't love me, so therefore our relationship's over. Or if you go on vacation by yourself and you don't take me with you, that means you don't love me and we need to end our relationship. These are ultimatums. These are expectations. This is wanting. This is being attached to you. And you're going to find yourself very smothered and very controlled. And it's going to feel very tight in this relationship. So if you can be in a relationship where people aren't attached to you and they understand non-attachment, this will help you a lot. And you would like to also not allow others to cling to you. As you're learning about craving, desire, attachment, wants, expectations, and clinging, and you start noticing your own cravings, desires, attachments in your mind and how that produces discontentedness, you'll get to a point where you can identify other people when they're clinging to you and they're craving and holding on to you. And the last thing you're interested in is having somebody attached to you. If somebody's attached to you, it's only a matter of time before they get angry and frustrated, and they're going to blame you for their anger and their frustration. And then they're going to push you aside, or they're going to be bitter and harsh and hostile towards you, or they're going to put their expectations on you. So not only do you need to be aware of your own cravings, desires, attachments, but you need to be aware when other people are getting attached to you. And there's things that you can do in order to ensure that people don't get attached to you. So say, for example, somebody invites you to a party and they say, hey, I would like you to come to my party. I'm having a birthday party. It's going to be a great time. Can you come over this Saturday? and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I'd like to come, but unfortunately I'm not able to, I've got some other plans. If they get angry and frustrated and agitated, this is them being attached to you. And you would like to pay attention to that. And you would like to start introducing some impermanence into your relationship, where every once in a while when they invite you to things, even if you can go, every once in a while just say no in a polite way, so that they don't get used to you always going to things. Because what some people tend to do is when someone invites you to something is you just go because you don't want them to get mad. You don't want them to get angry. You're just feeding the beast. You're feeding the cravings. But what you would like to do is do just the opposite, is insert some impermanence into your relationships. And the earlier, the better. Early in your relationship, if you can start doing this, then the person doesn't get an opportunity to get attached to you. Or say you have a friend or someone who's going to potentially be a life partner, they're texting you constantly or calling you constantly. You would like to get to a point where sometimes you answer, sometimes you don't, and you delay the amount of time that you answer. So if they're used to you answering within 5-10 minutes or 30 minutes, start spreading that out longer to several hours or even a day or two before you reply back to somebody. Because if you keep replying every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, every 20 minutes, their mind's going to get attached to that. They're going to get hooked to that. And now if you do what they want, which is reply to them within 5 minutes, they're happy. But if you don't reply to them within 5 minutes, they're going to get bitterly angry, and they're going to blame their anger on you because they think you're the one who's causing them to be angry, when in reality it's their craving. They're wanting and expecting you to reply to them in 5 minutes, and this isn't possible. You can't permanently reply to somebody so quickly like that. So you're going to need to train your mind to let go and train them that you're not going to always reply to them in a given amount of time. So as I shared earlier, it's unwise to teach somebody in an unsolicited way. You can't sit down with your friend and be like, hey, look, you're sending me a bunch of text messages, you're attached to me, and this is too much. You need to eliminate your attachment. You can't really do that because that's overtly teaching somebody and they haven't asked for your help. But you can make different decisions, which means you just choose to not reply to them in a given amount of time. You just spread that out further and further and further. So you are creating an environment in which they have the ability to let go and train their mind to let go. The last thing you're interested in doing is feeding somebody's cravings. So don't allow other people to cling to you or crave or hold on to you, because it's only a matter of time before they get angry and frustrated and the relationship's going to end. As soon as you allow attachment to come into your relationship, it's only a matter of time before this relationship is over, because somebody's going to get angry because of their craving and they're going to push you aside. They're going to be bitter, harsh, and hostile, or they're going to put your expectations on you. So you would like to maintain relationships where there's non-attachment and non-clinging. So where you see people's mind starting to get attached to you, you would like to introduce some impermanence here so that their mind doesn't get used to you having holding on to you over and over and over again. It would be great if you have friends and a life partner who understands true love. If you understand true love, which I taught yesterday, which is loving someone as they are, not forming your inner feelings based on this other person, but your partner doesn't understand that, it's going to be really challenging. And I gave an example of that yesterday, right? If you understand true love, what true love is you love somebody as they are unconditionally. But there's craving, desire, attachment that's masquerading as love, where people are holding on and putting expectations on each other. And then somebody might go on a business trip and they might call you and they say, hey, honey, did you miss me? Or are you missing me? Well, if you understand true love and you're not attached to them, you may say, no, I didn't miss you. And now that person's feelings is going to be hurt, and they're going to attribute that to you because they don't understand non-attachment and true love. That it's not that you don't love them, because the love isn't what's causing you to miss people. When you're missing somebody, it's your craving, desire, attachment. What you're saying is if you're with me, I'm happy. But when you're away from me, I don't feel good. This is, your mind is attached to that person. You're forming your inner feelings based on whether this person is with you or not. And because they can't be with you permanently, that means when they're away from you, you're going to feel bad. So you're not interested in allowing your mind to continue to do that. And if you're with a partner or friends who are doing that, then they're not understanding true love, and they're going to put their expectations on you. And you'll find that the relationship will be challenged and difficult. So by having friends or a life partner that understand true love is really helpful. level, but this is quite challenging. So it's not like you're going to go find this perfect friend who understands all this stuff, because enlightened beings understand the things that I'm talking about, but the vast majority of the world doesn't. So that's why I say it would be wonderful if people understood true love. But the idea of you finding someone who understands true love is very few and far between. So you're probably going to need to learn it yourself, practice it yourself, and then more and more, you and your friends and your partners start to understand this true love, because the vast majority of the world doesn't understand true love. They're practicing craving, desire, attachment, which is masquerading as love. And then what you're looking for in a relationship is politeness, kindness, friendliness, and respect. You should see this in all your relationships. This is the basis of every healthy relationship. If you don't have politeness, kindness, friendliness, and respect for the people around you, you don't have the basic building blocks of what you need in order to have a healthy relationship. Whether it's friends or whether it's a life partner, you're going to need that for yourself, and you need that from them as well. But remember, it's only an enlightened being that can be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful in every situation. With a person's mind having pollution, they're going to occasionally be disrespectful. They're going to occasionally be impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful. And you need to look at that in comparison to everything else that you see in the relationship. But ultimately, what you would like to see is a certain level of politeness, kindness, friendliness, and respect as a basic building block for your relationship. You shouldn't expect this. You shouldn't want this, because if you want it and you crave it and you expect it, then when somebody is impolite, unkind, unfriendly, or disrespectful, you'll be upset. You'll be frustrated. But just understand this as a wise decision, that you have an interest and a goal for people to be polite, kind, friendly, respectful in your relationships. So if you meet somebody and at the very beginning, they're already being impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful, unwise to go forward in that relationship. You just met them and they're already being that way, right? Because it's just going to get worse from there. But if you've known somebody for several weeks or several months or several years, and occasionally they do something that's impolite, unkind, unfriendly, and disrespectful, okay, maybe you can overlook that because there's this history of them being loving and kind in pretty much all situations. So it's not like you're going to go find this perfect individual who's always polite, kind, friendly, and respectful, because that's an enlightened being, and you may or may not have any people around you that are enlightened beings. But that's what you would like to look for as a basic building block in your relationships. It's helpful to eliminate confrontation in your relationships. Learn how to develop the ability to discuss and disagree with politeness, kindness, friendliness, and respect. Whereas if you crave permanent agreement and you can only be friends or a life partner with someone who agrees with you, you're going to struggle, because it's very rare to find people that are going to agree with you, right? Because people can't agree with you permanently. There's only one person who's going to agree with you all the time, and that's you. You're the only one. You're going to experience situations where people disagree with you and you disagree with them. But that doesn't mean that you're being disrespectful. Sometimes here in class, somebody will raise their hand and they'll say, David, I disagree with you. Here's my thoughts and here's my opinions. Can you help me understand why what you're sharing is different than what I'm sharing and what I've been taught so far in my life? Well, that person hasn't disrespected me because they've disagreed. They've just had different experiences in their life than me. So disagreement doesn't equal disrespect. Sometimes people think that disagreement equals disrespect, but disagreement is just we've had different experiences in our life. This is impermanence. This is normal. So if you crave permanent agreement, then you can only live with yourself, because you're the only one who's ever going to agree with you 100%. So this is where you need to learn to love the person while maybe disagreeing with their choices and decisions or their opinions and their views. And just because someone disagrees with you or you disagree with them, it doesn't mean we need to fight until death to see who's right and who's wrong, because we can both be right. Right? There doesn't need to be a right and a wrong and a winner and a loser. It can be, hey, that's your experiences based on your experiences in life, and that's your opinion based on those experiences. And this is my opinion based on my experiences, and that's okay. We can maintain our different opinions and our different views, and that's okay. Right? But if you're fighting until death because you want everybody around you to agree with the things you agree with, you're going to be in a lot of fights and a lot of arguments, because there's so many different views and opinions in the world. So you can eliminate confrontation in these relationships by understanding disagreement is normal, and disagreement doesn't mean disrespect. Don't assume that you know the full story. Whenever you're encountering a certain situation, don't assume you have all the answers and you know everything. You're going to need to ask questions and seek information. So if you enter into a situation where you're learning something about your life partner or a business partner or a friend or something like that, if you just cling to your perceptions, what a perception is your views and opinions about the world. These are like assumptions. If you hold on to your assumptions, you might be making decisions on false truths, and that would be very unwise. You would like to make decisions based on truth. So in order to get to truth, you're going to need to ask questions and seek information. So in any situation where you're not sure or you weren't there to witness that thing yourself, be sure to ask questions. This is very common, to ask questions and seek information. Look for a problem solver, whether it's for friends or whether it's a life partner, because in life, you're going to encounter various challenges and various difficulties. And if you and or the other person is willing to solve challenges together, then you'll be able to produce a very healthy relationship together. Me and my wife, when we first got together, there was all kinds of problems, not just with us, but people external to us. I was going through a divorce. I owned a business with my ex-wife. Now I had this new girlfriend and all these other things. And boy, was it a challenge. My ex-wife even tried to get my wife arrested at one point. And she was in handcuffs with the immigration police in America. And I had to talk with the immigration police and help them understand what was going on. Of course, they took her out of handcuffs and they realized it was just a scorned ex-wife that was trying to cause problems. But nonetheless, you're going to encounter various challenges and difficulties in life together, whether it's with a life partner or with friends. And if everybody's all just blaming each other for all the problems, you're not going to be able to solve them. So you would like to have friends and a life partner that's willing to sit down, have discussions, and solve problems together, because you guys are going to encounter various challenges along the way. Be sure that you take your time, that you're in no hurry to accumulate a whole bunch of friends, or you're in no hurry to hurry up and get to a life partner. If somebody is going to have a life partner, sometimes people feel pressured to hurry up and find a life partner. Don't put pressure on yourself, because you'll tend to make an unwise decision because of that craving to want a life partner. You're going to overlook certain things that you otherwise wouldn't have chosen this particular life partner, these particular friends. So if you're in a hurry to just accumulate a whole bunch of friends, or if you're in a hurry to hurry up and get to a life partner, you might be making unwise decisions here. So take your time. There's no rush in getting a friends or getting a life partner or something like that. Look at how people treat others, right? It's one thing to be in a relationship with someone and experience however they're treating you. But if you're looking at friends to involve in your life, or you're looking at a life partner to involve in your life, look at how they treat other people around you. Look at how they treat taxi drivers or food servers or their mom and dad or their siblings, or look at how they talk about their ex-boyfriend or their ex-girlfriend. If they're really degrading and disrespectful to their mom and their dad and their siblings, and they talk horribly about their ex-partners, it's only a matter of time before you're that person. You're going to be that ex-partner soon, because what this person is telling you is that they don't know how to get along in relationships. If they're having difficulties in their relationship with their mom and dad and their brothers and sisters and their ex-boyfriends and girlfriends and their friends, and you're hearing all this stuff, this is them telling you that they aren't very good at relationships. They haven't cultivated the wisdom yet of how to have healthy and conducive relationships. And if now they're in a relationship with you, it's only a matter of time before they start having those same problems with you. So you would like to use that as an indication that, this person's having trouble with their relationships. So look at how they treat other people. Do they treat taxi drivers and food servers and people like this in supportive and uplifting ways, or are they degrading and demeaning to these people? Understand that your goal isn't to please others through your relationship choices. What this means is, like, if your parents are putting pressure on you to have a particular partner or not, or to have certain friends or not, then it would be very unwise for you to make decisions about your partner based on what your parents want, right? Your parents have selected their partner. Whoever they had you with, They chose that person based on their own decisions and their own wisdom. But now sometimes what parents do is they might put their expectations on you about who they want for you as a partner. But they've already had their life. They're already making their choices. This is your life. You need to make a decision that's helpful for you and that's beneficial for you, and a partner that you see that is helpful for you. But if you're making decisions based on what your mom or dad want or what your brothers and sisters want, you might be making an unwise decision. If I would have selected the people that my parents wanted, I probably would have been with nobody, because every single girl that I ever brought home, my sister had a problem with them mostly, or my mom had a problem with them mostly. In some cases, they liked the person, but I didn't necessarily like them, right? And there would be times where I would come home from school and there would be some girl in the house talking to my mom, already kind of, getting things going. And I'm walking in and my mom's like taking me to the side, like, hey, you should go talk to her. She really likes you. This would be a great woman for you. I'm like, whoa, like, I don't even know this girl. Like, why do you even have her here in the house? So if you make decisions based on what your parents want, it might be completely the wrong choice for you. You need to make the decision about who your partner is or who your friends are. Don't let other people make those decisions for you. Leave space for growth. As you meet friends, as you have a life partner, you guys are going to change. Me and my wife have been together for 17 years. We've changed significantly. When she first met me, I was a business owner. I had a lot of money. I had a lot of employees. I had all these assets of a house and cars and all these different things. And then when I first met her, she was pretty much unemployed, and she was doing laundry, she was cleaning the house, she was cooking lots of food, she was doing all kinds of different things. Well, our relationship has changed significantly. We're living here in Thailand now. I don't have money anymore. She doesn't do all the cooking and cleaning and washing laundry anymore. Whereas if you base your feelings of, I love this person because she cooks me dinner, and I love this person because she does my laundry, well, now when these things change, your love's going to feel like it's gone. But that's not the love. Loving someone because they cook you dinner is a conditional thing. That's craving, desire, attachment. That's not love. Love is loving somebody as they are, not loving them because of what they do. Because then when they stop doing those things, then you're going to say you can't love them anymore, right? So if you love taking walks in the park with your partner, well, what happens if their legs get amputated and now you can't take walks in the park with them anymore? Does that mean you've lost your love? No, you would like to love the person as they are, right? So if I loved my wife because she cooked dinner for me, then that means when she stopped cooking, I wouldn't love her anymore. Or if I loved her because she washed my laundry when we first met, then when she stopped washing my laundry, I wouldn't love her anymore, right? So things are going to change as you go forward in life, and you're going to need to be comfortable with that change and allow people to grow in your life around you and understand change is part of life. So my wife, if she was holding on to all that money that I used to make, then when I started moving in this direction to start teaching the Buddhist teachings, she would have been interested in that. She would have been trying to convince me not to do this. But she knew, like, hey, he's interested in sharing the teachings of the Buddha. Go ahead. Right? She's living her life. She's making her money. She doesn't need money from me anymore. She's standing up on her own 2 feet. Where at one time I did a lot of support, where I supported her a lot. So she's not loving me for the money. She's loving me as I am. But the money was there at one time that I was able to help her. But now I don't help her with money. She's got to make her own money. And she's learned how to do that and cultivated the wisdom to do that. So you're going to need to leave space for growth, because these relationships, they're not permanent, and how people exist in the world is going to change. So this next part is about life partners, and then I'm just going to open up to any questions. I'm going to share all of this and give you guys a chance to ask all your questions at one time. Okay, so in terms of a life partner, understand that the perfect life partner doesn't exist. Sometimes we have this idea in our mind of Prince Charming or Princess Charming, and there's this perfect partner out there. There's this soulmate waiting for us, and we just need to find that person. There's no such thing as the perfect partner. It's only existing in your own mind. Every person you come in contact with in terms of looking for a relationship with you, they're going to be imperfect, just like you. The only individual who's truly perfect is when somebody's an enlightened being. They're no longer causing harm to anybody. They're functioning in the world in a perfect way. But that person isn't going to be looking for a partner, right? They will either already have a partner, or they will have already decided that they're going to be single. And they're going to live life for the rest of their life single. So an enlightened being isn't going to be out there looking for a romantic partner. So all of these things that I have to share with you are all about a life partner now. So that perfect partner doesn't exist. When you meet somebody, they're going to be imperfect. And now you guys are going to need to learn and grow together to become a better and better individual and a better and better couple together. You're going to need to develop important skills together prior to any kind of formal marriage or any formal commitment, where you guys can be polite, kind, friendly, and respectful while disagreeing with each other. And you can make unified decisions while supporting those decisions. So you're going to need different skills to develop with each other. So you would like to, during that dating process, you would like to develop these kind of skills together. Here in Thailand, they actually don't call it dating. When you come together with somebody, they actually call it learning each other. I think this is really helpful that you think about it. When you first get together with a boyfriend or girlfriend, you're learning each other. You're learning about this person and what they're doing and what they're into, and they're learning about you. And can we really come together and create a nice life together? So as you guys are learning about each other, it's helpful to develop these skills and these problem-solving skills where you can agree with each other, but also you can disagree with each other. Sometimes with my wife, I tell her I disagree with things just to see how her mind functions when I say that I disagree with you on that. I just am interested to see how she handles that. And now that I've seen that she handles it just fine and she's completely comfortable with me disagreeing, I'll stop doing it, and I don't do that anymore. But if I do disagree with her, I'll tell her that I disagree with her on something. But in some situations, I may tell her that I disagree with her on a certain situation, and I'll find some reason why I disagree with her, just to help her to be comfortable with her husband's going to disagree with her sometimes. This is helpful. Understand that official marriage isn't required to have a lifelong partnership together. Sometimes we feel like we're required to get married, and sometimes people really want that really badly. I was married once, the first time, and we ended up getting a divorce, and then I married my second wife. And whenever I got married, whenever the official documents were signed, I always felt constrained. I always felt pressured in this relationship. And I also got complacent too during the relationship, because I knew in order for them to leave, there was going to have to be a whole lot of work before they would leave. So me and my wife, we've actually been unmarried since 2015. Right? That we actually went down to the Thai government and signed the papers to get a legal divorce, but now we just stay together. And it's actually much more comfortable for us. But that doesn't mean it's good for everybody to do it that way. Because in some countries, it's actually to your benefit to be married. Like legally, it helps you to have extra benefits or less taxes, or it's good for your children if you have children. But for us, living here in Thailand, about 80% of the people who are considered husband and wife in Thailand, they're not legally married. So when you see a couple in Thailand, and you might think they're married, there's a good chance that they're not legally married, because legal marriage is just going down to the government and signing a document and informing the government that you are now married. Why do I need to inform the government of who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with? You don't need to do that. You're not required to do that. Now, in some countries, as I mentioned, it's better to do that because you get certain insurance benefits or you get other financial benefits. But here in Thailand, there's no benefit to going down and actually signing those papers. So we decided in 2015 to unsign those papers and get a legal divorce. And it's actually works for our relationship much better because we both know that either one of us can get up and leave at any time. We can get up and leave at any time, and we feel more freedom with that, and it ensures that I'm not complacent and she's not complacent. In this way, we practice love and kindness and compassion, and we're very polite and respectful with each other, where when we were married, it wasn't necessarily always like that. So understand that you're not required to be officially married in order to spend the rest of your life together if that's what you're choosing to do. There's no such thing as living happily ever after. This doesn't actually work this way. Sometimes we think that we meet a partner, we fall in love with them, we get married, and then we live happily ever after. This is kind of like what we learned growing up as a child, and we read these fairy tale books and we think that that's the way our life's going to be too. But it's not actually that we live happily ever after. Instead, what it is that you meet each other, you learn each other, you work on developing skills and abilities to solve challenges with each other. You learn to communicate, You learn to have discussions. You learn to be friends. You learn to not want anything from each other. You learn to be interested in seeing your partner be well and succeed. You support, encourage, and motivate each other to accomplish whatever they'd like to accomplish without putting any expectations or controlling conduct into the relationship. And now you will live happily ever after. That's what it means to live happily ever after. But there's some work involved in living happily ever after. It's not meet, get married, and then live happily ever after. There's a whole lot of work in there in between to get to the happily ever after. As I shared with you guys yesterday, I've been with my wife for 17 years, but we've been happily together for 5 years. It took us about 11 or 12 years to figure it out, right? It took some time. We had to figure it out. So that's what all that figuring out is. So you're going to need to figure that out. As you're dating with someone who's potentially a life partner, or as you're learning each other, spend time doing different activities where you can learn to exist in the same dwelling while doing other activities prior to confirming the relationship. So for example, we usually in the dating process, when we're learning each other, we usually go to someone's house, we pick them up, and then we go out on a date. And then we come home and they go their way and we go our way. Maybe you've had intimate contact somewhere along the line, but nonetheless, you guys are gonna be together from the moment you see each other all the way through the date, and then you're done and you go your separate ways. Well, this isn't the way that long-term relationships work. You guys are going to not be together all the time. So while you're dating and while you're learning each other, let's just say this person, as part of one of your dates, comes over to your house. You guys are watching TV, watching a movie together. You're spending time together. But then maybe you go off to another room and you do something else and they do something else, right? Like you're reading a book and they're doing some kind of puzzle or something. I don't know, whatever people are into, listening to music or whatever, right? Like if you can learn to be separate but still be together, this is really helpful. Because if you go out on all these dates for 6 months or a year or 2 years where you're always together, you never learned how to be together but yet separate as well and doing your own things. So learning this kind of thing can be really helpful in the dating process. Understand that change will occur, that the person's appearance is going to change. There's going to be changes to the relationships. These are unavoidable. Whereas if you were craving for your partner to have permanent youthfulness, and now as they age, if you're craving permanent youthfulness, you might let go of an otherwise really helpful, a really wonderful relationship because you're craving another person who's younger. Right? So you need to pay attention to your own cravings, desires, attachments. Like if you meet when you're in your 20s or 30s, and now you guys are together till you're 40, 50, 60, and now all of a sudden all those wrinkles, all that gray hair, that extra fat that's coming around, maybe you don't like that, and now maybe you're craving a younger person, and you might go out and try to get another partner, and this otherwise wonderful relationship could be destroyed just because of your craving for someone that has a more youthful appearance. So understand that change is going to occur both in your appearance and their appearance too, and that's okay. You know, my wife doesn't look anything the way she does when we first met. She looks very, very different. But I'm not loving her appearance. I'm loving her as a person, right? I'm loving her as she is. And as she ages and she looks different, that's okay. You know, I love her for who she is, not for the way that she looks. Okay, I think this is everything. Yeah. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just see if you guys have any questions on anything. You guys can ask questions here if you guys wouldn't mind using a microphone. For those of you guys online, if you guys have any questions, you're welcome to ask by putting that into Facebook, YouTube, or Zoom. You guys have any questions? Yep.
Hello. Thank you so much for your lecture. So today's topic is related to our loved one. So the children and then wife or husband. So I'm going back to my the children. So so if you found so your child bullied, or someone told you your child is bullied lately, but your child can't tell you. So, and I wonder how to deal with the situation, because you mentioned today, so if unwise people get together and arguing, it doesn't lead any good circumstances. So I wonder how to suggest to the child. So
Okay. So your question is, if you find out from other people that your child is being bullied, how do you handle it? Is that what you're asking? Okay. So the first thing I would do is start asking questions, because I need to know more information, right? I need to talk to the people who are sharing with me that my child's bullied. How do you know this? What did you see? What did you experience? Who else knows about this? Because I'm going to need to talk to those people too, and I need to get information, because you're not interested in clinging to your perceptions. So right away, I'm going to start asking questions to all these different people. And then I'm going to go to my child too and ask my child, questions and try to get their perspective. And now once I fully understand what the problem is, now I can start addressing it and figuring out how to solve it. So at one time, my son was actually experiencing a little bit of this when he was in first and second grade. So after I got all the information, I went in and talked with the teachers. I talked with the school officials and people like this. I talked with them several times, but it was continuing to happen. And I eventually requested to talk to the other boys' parents, and the school wouldn't allow me to do that at first. They said, give us a few more opportunities to solve this first. And then eventually I said, okay, I'll give you one more chance, but if this doesn't work, can you agree that then you'll let me talk to the parents? And they said, yes, we're going to try one more time. And if it doesn't work, you can talk to the parents. So then they tried one more time. It didn't work. And then they allowed me to talk with the parents directly. And then I talked with the parents directly. And then we ultimately ended up deciding to leave the school and go to another school, because this child was continuing to do this. And that child ended up choosing to leave that school too. But nonetheless, that's how we handled it, is ask lots of questions, talk with the teachers, talk with the administrative people, and then ultimately I ended up talking with the parents. And that's how we handled it. And then we went to the new school. There was two situations where two different children did something physical to my son, and he told me about it. And then I talked with the teacher, and the teacher addressed it with the parents, the first one. And then the second one, I talked with the parents directly, and then the parents talked with their son, and then it handled it. It was just one incident with the one person and one incident with the other one, and it was done. And then he hasn't experienced that anymore. And now he's a little bit older, so I don't suspect he's going to experience that anymore.
Sorry. Thank you so much for sharing the story. Actually, I encountered to my son so long before, and then so my son's older sister really helpfully try to solve the problem. Then, as I mentioned, the same thing happened. So I just wondered, in Thailand, so people kind of moderate, not so aggressive. So, people it's people, people are people. So just you're interested in about that. Yeah.
And by the way, the reason why I requested to talk to the parents is not because I was going to try to change the parents, or I was going to try to change the child, because I understand that if a child's choosing to be a bully, that's coming from the pollutions of the mind that the Buddha teaches about, and I can't change that. And what I was interested in is I was interested in talking to the parents because I was interested in seeing how their mind functioned when we talked to them about their child. Because if their parents would have accepted responsibility for it and they see the problem, then I know the parents were going to fix it, and I would feel comfortable leaving my son at that school. But if the parents didn't accept responsibility for it, which these parents didn't, they were completely deflecting it, they were denying that it ever occurred and all these other things, then I know that this problem is going to continue, because I can't change the parents, I can't change that child, I don't have the ability to do that, and I can't change the school either. The only thing I can do is make decisions to change the life that I'm experiencing. So I knew that my decision was either to leave him at the school, and I knew that the school officials and the parents and the child was going to improve based on their own decisions, or my decision was I was going to leave and have him out of the school, and that was the best way to keep him safe. So my interest in asking all these questions was to assess what's my level of confidence that this parent and this child is going to improve, and can the school really support that improvement? Because if not, I'm going to need to move him out of the school. And moving a child out of a school here in Thailand to enroll in a new school, there's a really big enrollment fee. So I wasn't interested in paying that if I didn't need to, but I also wasn't interested in keeping my son in a school where he was going to be harmed as well. So that's why I had to assess what's the likelihood of this improving, so that then I could make a decision of whether to leave out of the school or not, because it's all about your decisions. It's not about what other people are choosing to do.
Yeah, it's really, it makes sense a lot. Yes, so our decision. So can't change others. So just like today's topics. So the wholesome friend, the wholesome partner, wholesome place. So and I see. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions anywhere. So let me share with you guys what we're going to be discussing tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be discussing this in the morning, the path to enlightenment, practicing the path in the workplace. Then we're going to be discussing what's called the art of the friendly no, how to say no without saying no. Because one of the last things that the unenlightened mind is interested to hear is the word no. So when people invite you to parties or when people ask you things, you're going to need to say no sometimes. But if you say the word no, oftentimes people's painful feelings arise because of their cravings, and they're going to push you to the side, and you're going to damage the relationship. So I'm going to teach you how to say no to people without saying no. That'll be something that we do tomorrow. And then I'm going to share with you continued support on the path to enlightenment. Oftentimes tomorrow we end up a little bit early. Sometimes we finish before lunch, and sometimes students like to go out as a group to lunch. If you guys would like to do something like that, we can do that. We'll see who else is here, because there's a larger crowd that comes in the morning versus the afternoon. So sometimes we finish by about 11:30, 12 o'clock, and students like to go out and have lunch together. So we can check in and see if you guys would like to do that tomorrow. Okay, so have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you for coming. Thank you for learning the teachings, and we'll see you guys in a future class. Be well. Have a lovely day. Yep. Thank you again for watching. Enjoy your meditation. Look forward to seeing you online and answering any questions that you might have. Thank you so much.